started here, I want to introduce you to our good friends. But of course, you know, it's interesting because, you know, technology changes and little innovations come along here and there. You may want to upgrade your ride and you don't know where to start. Well, in this session, we are going to be joined by, of course, as I said earlier, Ed Nasjleti, Brian Leathers of SRAM, as they cover the same levels of the SRAM Eagle groups and interchangeability. There's some really cool, unique features to SRAM that the innovative guys down there that you can't get from the competing component companies. So the new expanded 520% range is one of the best ways to upgrade and move up within the level, as most all parts across the ecosystem are interchangeable. So it's pretty cool stuff, guys. You know, the MTB mountain bike and road stuff, and the whole organization include great reliable companies like ZIPP, RockShox, Avid, and a few others. I know Brian and Ed are going to go over those a little more and they're to let us know. So I'm gonna let the experts talk about it. I want to get educated. I am excited about what we got going on. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Ed and Brian, and we're going to get this show on the road. Take it away, gentlemen.
Okay. Thank you very much, Josh. Hello, and thank you for your time and interest in SRAM products today. I've had a chance to read up on the Flag to Grand Canyon event, and I think it's a great fundraiser for Toys for Tots with the Marines. We do a Toys for Tots ride here in Chicago in December, and 1 year it was 4 degrees at the start and 8 degrees at the finish, so they doubled the temperature during the ride. Brian and I are here today to give you a quick overview of some new drivetrains for mountain biking. I'd also like to go over a quick history of SRAM, talk about the drivetrain product, and talk about some new additions to that drivetrain product. Let's begin with the beginning of SRAM. The company was started about 32 years ago by a small group of guys who really liked triathlons. Actually, a guy named Scott King and Stan Day got together, and Scott challenged Stan to a triathlon. Scott was a collegiate swimmer, and Stan was a pretty good runner and pretty good cyclist, but he wasn't that great in the water. As the product was developed, people suggested they adapt the idea of a twist shifter on a road bike to a twist shifter on a mountain bike. And that's how grip shift was introduced to flat bars. In a few years, with the increase in mountain bikes, if you remember in the early 90s, mountain bikes exploded. It was more successful in the mountain bike world than in triathlons or in road riding. The company has grown through a series of acquisitions, starting with Zox in
We might have lost Ed, so
Yeah.
I can kind of pick up where
Yeah.
Ed kind of left off. So we started with Sox in 1997, RockShox in 2002,
and our world headquarters in Chicago, Illinois. All the products we're going to talk about today are available from your local bike shop and a number of different retailers online. We're going to begin our presentation about SRAM Eagle. So let's go to the next slide.
Okay. No, I appreciate it, Ed. Eagle is the SRAM mountain bike drivetrain designed to work with all mountain bikes and many price points and all different kinds of frame styles. Throughout the years, we've manufactured, tested, and ridden hundreds of thousands of SRAM one-bike drivetrains and have capitalized on the lessons learned from our experience to create all new drivetrains with Eagle technology. From super lightweight cross-country to high-performance, just big hit, downhill bikes, Eagle can do it all with a huge range of gearing and great durability. but the first key feature is the compatibility in the Eagle ecosystem. All the Eagle products are cross-compatible with some minor exceptions. But in general, you can shift all Eagle derailleurs with an Eagle shifter. All Eagle uses Eagle chains and Eagle cranks. And we now offer a third size of cassette that increases the range of gearing. And I love this marketing picture here with just all the cranks and the cassette and everything. But to reiterate, all the V1 mechanical Eagle drivetrain system, if you have an NX cassette, it'll shift with an XX1 rear derailleur, any of the shifters. So it's a really cool way to just adapt and plug and play different parts with all the V1 mechanical Eagle parts. So designed for use with our proven, reliable XD driver body, this 12-speed 10 to 50 tooth cassette offers an optimal 500% gear range at a considerably lighter weight than any 2x systems. It carries with it X-Dome architecture, which independent tests have concluded yields the strongest cassettes on the market. The X-Glide 2 is the next generation of SRAM X-Glide technology that's optimized for the Eagle 12-speed cassette. It provides quick, precise power-on shifting performance throughout the entire gear range and increases chain retention on much larger cogs. Strength and stiffness where you need it, lightweight like you want it. Proprietary SRAM carbon layup design increases thickness and stiffness at critical stress areas. Tapered, terraced carbon architecture ensures the greatest weight savings without comprising strength. This is now available at much more affordable price points. Looking at the chainring in particular, we subjected every size of chainring to untold environmental and mechanical tortures, abuse and neglect, testing in both lab and real-world environments to come up with a chainring that would augment the Eagle drivetrain's performance in all conditions. The ring features X-Sync 2, the next evolution of SRAM X-Sync technology. The aggressive teeth design provides better chain retention for a smoother, more efficient pedal feel. With the focus on long wear life, the X-Sync Eagle design reduces friction and the accumulation of mud, grit, and grime. Ultra smooth chain inner plates are devoid of square edges, resulting in a chain that engages the cassette and chainring with far less friction for quieter performance and a better wear life. The design allows a narrower overall profile that can withstand greater angles, also allows for a flatter outer plate, which means more consistent chain riveting and enhanced overall strength. Paired with both a new rear derailleur formed via the evolution of our proven 1x specific X Horizon design, as well as trigger shifters with SRAM 1x actuation, keep shifting sharp and consistent across the entire cassette. And a little more detail into the chain might look normal from the outside, but the engineering inside this incredible new chain design makes possible gear range previously found only in 2x chainring drivetrains. It's also the biggest contributor to the Eagle drivetrain's ultra smooth, precise, durable, and quiet performance. The Eagle chain's links have a smooth radius, no sharp edges or chamfers, which yield a significant reduction in noise, friction, and wear on chainrings and cassette cogs. The design also allows for a flatter plate, which means more consistent chain riveting and greater overall strength, with our hard chrome technology extending the chain's optimal performance life, and a titanium nitride coating on the gold and black models decreases corrosion and further reduces friction. And I think actually we have one of the chains that we might be able to raffle off right now, Josh, or are we doing it later?
Unmute. Yeah, Brian, you know what, we can, you know what, it's not a bad time to do that. I want to ask you a couple questions, because as you've been kind of going over this amazing information, you think about, you know, just the incredible amount of refinement that goes on, and it was in an earlier slide where you know, we saw the chain ring and the crank together with the chain. You really see how the tooth profile on our chain rings today are just vastly different than were, you know, even 6 or 8 years ago with the tooth profile, directional tooth profile. And I can remember racing as a young kid in my early 20s, downhill racing. They'd have all kinds of different devices to keep the chain on up front. You know, now that there's nothing there, you know, everything's just through technology and been simplified. It's just really incredible stuff, and I think Eagle is no exception. It's really just cutting edge, amazing stuff, and the chain is such a huge part of that, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of, I mean, just albeit how minor something like the chain as a component, when you look at the rear derailleur and the cassette and the chain ring might appear, I mean, a lot of development, a lot of testing, whether it be in the lab or in the field, goes into all of the parts to make sure everything works like optimally together. So,
yeah,
and also
absolutely.
We do have something that keeps the chain on the chain ring. It's the shape of the teeth of the chain ring that offer you chain retention on the chain ring, and also release the chain as you pedal through the drivetrain and reduce noise.
Yeah, because the teeth now, as opposed to being what we'll call neutral teeth, where they're swept back, and the leading edge has a little extra. I almost want to call it a tooth about halfway up the actual tooth itself. That plays an important role in that. Correct?
Yeah, the shape of the tooth makes sure that the chain is always maintained on the chain ring, and we also have a damper in the pulley cage on the rear derailleur that helps maintain tension on the chain. So the chain is always going to be on that chain ring, and it's not going to bounce off even under the roughest conditions.
Yeah, yeah.
I was going to say, we have a question that came through, and it's from John. He's asking, what is the smallest or tightest Eagle cassette available? He says, I know the trend seems to go for a bigger range, but is there an option for a tighter, smaller range?
You know, that's a really great question. One of the things that we did with Eagle is we brought out the idea of just having a single size cassette. We offer different price points and different weights of cassettes, but they were all one size, and they were 10 to 50. We've just introduced in the last month a new design that goes 10 to 52. So Eagle only works with that wide range cassette, and there really aren't any tighter choices. We offer an 11-speed 1x product that comes 10 to 42, and we offer a road product that's 10 to 36. But on the Eagle product, because we have one chain ring, we're sticking to the 10 to 50 or 10 to 52 range.
Okay, and there's another question that came over from Dave, and it is, when do I know when I've used up my chain? In other words, when do you need to replace a chain?
Well, I think that'd be a great question to answer for the guy who does product testing.
Yeah, and actually, because I specialize in the wheel side, it's hard to say, but I know from a lot of our lab and our field testing, it's normally like we've actually tested the product a lot further out to the point where we even feel consumers would ever even replace things. So we definitely err on the conservative side as far as durability. Honestly, I couldn't confidently give an answer for how long. It really depends on how the chain's being used. So, you know, depending on what gear it's in, the type of riding, the ride style, it's really hard to just put a number and say, okay, every 500 hours your chain has to be replaced. It may be, if you go off of some of the kind of the general rules for like chain stretch over time, if you can measure that, that might be your best bet for when to replace the chain. But it really just comes down to, like I said, just the ride style, the terrain you're riding, and what cog you're in on the rear. That kind of dictates like how quickly you could potentially wear the chain out.
And that's one of the cool things about Eagle is if you see a lot of cog wear in your 3 easiest cogs, you might want to think about switching to a smaller size chainring. If you have cog wear in your 10, 11, and 12 tooth cog, then you might want to start thinking about putting on a larger chainring. And what Brian said about the chain wear, we actually see the chainring wearing at about the same rate as the chain itself. in the old days, you'd replace chains, you'd replace cassettes, but you'd seldom replace a chainring. And with Eagle, we see that you need to replace a chainring almost as much as you do a chain. The chains are really hard. That's one of the really good attributes of them.
And what's the what are the chainring, kind of the range in the teeth that we offer for Eagle again, Ed?
So for round chainrings, we go anywhere from 28 to 36. If you're using a power meter, you have to go 32 or larger. And we offer, I understand you guys were listening to Ned Overend the otend day. Ned Overend really likes our oblong Eagle chainring, which is using that same X-Sync 2 technology for the teeth.
Yep. So definitely, like Ed said, if you kind of notice that wear in certain cogs or so forth, it may be to your best interest, even with how you ride and where you're riding, to change your chainring size potentially. So,
but you got to remember one thing about Eagle, and that was why the question about the range is kind of interesting. Eagle is a single chainring. That means you always have sequential shifting. That's the really important part of Eagle technology. You do not ever have to decide what chainring you're going to use in front. So the shifting just got a whole lot simpler. And with 520% range, it gives you the ability to go anywhere you want with that 10 to 52 cassette. And you know, Janet, the question about lubricants, we are very big on soap and water on the chain and chainring. We believe keeping clean is important. We don't really say anything about lubricants. Our chain is manufactured with a lubricant when we build it, and it's a chain lubricant. It's not a packing material. But if you want to use whatever you want to use, you can use whatever lubricant you think is appropriate for your, because there's so many different conditions. Pacific Northwest, you've got volcanic ash and a lot of water. Down in Arizona, you've got a ton of desert, super dry, very, very fine dust. Northeast US, you've got a lot of granite in the soil and a lot of water. So wherever you go, there are different lubricant applications.
Yeah, all great information, guys. That's good stuff, man. It's great for you guys to take the time and spend this time with us, and you know, you guys have been supporters of our event for a lot of years. Brian, you've been a rider at our event a lot of years, and I want to get in and talk to you about that here in a little bit. But first, Janet, I think we ought to give one of those chains away. We got that XO1 12-speed Eagle chain. Let's get that rocking and rolling. What do we got?
All right, I'm bringing my my partner,
drawing the raffle.
The drawing. We have the 12-speed XO1 chain is going to person D period G period DG, and we will look up DG's email address and be in contact with him to get him the chain after this event. So congratulations.
Go DG.
Nice. Congratulations, DG, wherever you are. You got a brand new chain. This is a pretty high dollar product, and hopefully it'll be going on to a SRAM bike. So yeah, all right, guys. So we got a little presentation. Janet, do we have any other questions from anybody in the peanut gallery so far that we maybe get answered before we jump into our next phase of the presentation?
I don't see any additional questions at this time, but DG is here, and so he said thanks.
Cool.
New York
Awesome,
City
DG.
and the Mets are already moving.
Yeah, and just to reiterate again, even though it says it's an XO1 chain, that chain can be used on any of the Eagle level drive chain or drivetrain. So
yeah, there's that interchangeability we're talking about with Eagle earlier. So very cool. Now one thing about SRAM is you know, one of the hot topics you know, just in the world of current events, as we talk about companies consolidating, big companies, you know, gobbling up little companies, and then they disappear. I know there's been certain bike companies in the past, and they'll buy up smaller brands. They might keep that name for a little bit, but then all of a sudden that gets dissolved away. You know, SRAM's business model has been to acquire other brands, but you guys Kind of tell us a little bit more about the SRAM philosophy in you guys acquiring different brands and how that goes and how that's a little different from the big bad conglomerate gobbling up all these little companies.
Well, as I talked about at the beginning, we believe in growth through acquisition, but it's not a negative acquisition where you acquire a company, fire all the people in jobs that are similar, take them out, take the factory out of wherever it is, and transplant it to a place that it didn't know. So, for example, when we acquired ZOX, we signed an agreement with the German government. We built a brand new facility in Schweinfurt, Germany, so nobody had to move. It's a really beautiful place, Romstrasse 1.
Come back, Ed.
Uh-oh.
Did I disappear there?
Yeah, you're back now.
Okay. So it was something where we acquired another company and we brought them into the SRAM organization, but we didn't take away what they had when they were working in their facility in Schweinfurt. Similar thing in Indianapolis. With Indianapolis, we acquired ZIPP and we built an entirely new facility away from Speedway up on 56th Street and put up an entirely new building with new engineering facilities, new manufacturing, and everything. So growth by acquisition, but we're trying to add on, not trying to take away.
Sure. So you're giving by acquiring these companies, you're taking a position of the added security of having the backing of this larger, more diverse company within the cycling industry, and giving them the tools they need to take their products to the next level and having that benefit everybody. So it's really a rising tide raises all ships approach. I think we lost Ed, or I lost everyone. I'm not sure.
So we lost Ed, and we lost you for a second, but you're back, Josh.
Oh no. Well, either way, here's kind of my philosophy on it. What I like to see is that to me says good stewardship, positive things coming from the SRAM group, and that's a product that I can certainly get behind, especially considering that it's right here in the good old US of A, and they're supporting the good folks in this country all over, whether it's ZIPP in Indianapolis or RockShox in their location, or just SRAM headquarters right there in Chicago. So that's something I can definitely get behind. And I have counted on SRAM throughout the years in my early days racing as a junior with the pre-SRAM grip shift shifters that were simple, easy to work on, and super reliable. All the way through the tail end of my last racing career, SRAM took me to a state marathon championship, a second place at the Whiskey Off-Road in the 50-mile open category, as well as a 5th place at the Chupacabras 100. So, Brian and Ed, your products, trust me, I've spent a lot of time suffering and shifting those gears and pedaling those cranks, and they've done good for me. So we got that chain given away. We've shared some great information on SRAM. I want to know more about the Eagle product, so I'm going to give it back to Ed and Brian, and I want to hear more about this presentation. So let's keep it going.
I think I'm back.
You are back, sir.
We got you back.
Okay. Let's talk about the big news as far as Eagle goes. It's been designed for a wider range. We talked about the idea of having a 10 to 52 or 10 to 50 cassette. Let's go over the changes that we've made to bring a 10 to 52 product in. We're here to answer your questions, so don't hesitate to put the questions in the box. Our engineers have increased the range of Eagle GX, X01 Eagle, and XX1 Eagle. All three of those designs are now using a 10 to 52 cassette. It gives the rider a 520% range to tackle the biggest climbs and realize the spin to win game. So let's start with our all-day performer, Eagle GX. This is the group that shop guys clamored for when SRAM introduced the first XX1 and X01 Eagle. This is the affordable group. It offers a great value and can be used as a tune-up in a box. Most importantly, the cult favorite that is GX Eagle gets a totally new finish, new crank material, and design, making it look as good as it performs. The all-new 10 to 52 tooth GX Eagle cassette is for riders who prioritize all-day function over anything else. It's an expanded 520% range. It gives the ability to spin and recover even on the burliest climbs. It's refined to work with the new 10 to 52 cassettes, and that's all of the different cassettes in the Eagle expanded range lineup. The new derailleur for GX is also backwards compatible to the old 10 to 50 tooth version. All new mechanical derailleurs are marked with 520% lettering on the inside of the tension pulley cage, indicating compatibility. Why did we pursue a larger cassette? The Eagle ecosystem is intended to provide top-tier performance for everyone, from weekend warriors to world champions. We asked our athletes and customers for their feedback on our 10 to 50 cassette, and we heard an opportunity for growth with an expanded range. We'll continue to offer the 10 to 50 tooth, but if you want a broader gear range without changing your chainring size, then 10 to 52 will be your new best friend. So the next one is X01 Eagle. This is for the riders and racers who demand adaptability and versatility out of their equipment. Whether having fun, progressing skills, or taking the win, X01 Eagle is designed and refined to support riders with the power of expanded capability. A refined rear derailleur with a new cage architecture for the enhanced chain management, 520% lettering marked on the inside of the tension pulley cage, indicating compatibility with a 520% cassette, a forged shifter paddle that can take abuse, the new Eagle colorway system with colorway across shifter, crank, and derailleur. Our signature Oxy Red shifter, crank, and derailleur is a second option with the X01 Eagle. So it goes perfectly with any of the Eagle cassette and chain colors. 520% expands the range for impossibly steep transfers or high country climbs. Here's the rear derailleur. Now, this is a wireless electronic rear derailleur. There is no physical connection between the control unit on the handlebar and the rear derailleur on the bicycle. Axis powered components enable customization and scale to an individual rider's liking via an app on your phone. It features a shorter cage for 10 millimeters more ground clearance and more chain wrap on the cassette because it sits slightly further forward and further inboard. The Eagle Axis derailleur is smart enough to protect itself thanks to its incredibly resilient overload clutch. If you hit it, the motor gearbox disengages, giving the derailleur freedom to move. Then it instantly returns back to its position for a seamless experience for the rider. The system is tested to an IP69K water and dust proofing standard for creek crossings, mud splatterings, and that super fine dust you run into in the desert. And it's backwards compatible to work with the 10 to 50 tooth option. You pair it with our new XG1295 10 to 52 tooth cassette, and it gives riders more than ever before, with an unprecedented 520% range. Choice of colors in either lunar or a black cassette, and you can choose a chain among black, rainbow, gold, or the exciting new copper variant. So here is a picture of the Eagle
Oh no, we lost Ed again.
Oh, we're getting so enthralled, man. People are getting excited. Dang it.
Oh yeah, I can pick up a little bit where
Season cliffhanger.
I can pick up a little bit where Ed kind of left off, but the shifting performance of Eagle Axis is definitely a real difference maker. Shift under load, over the roughest terrain, uphill without changing your grip on the bars at all. Eagle Axis changes your level of control on the bike when you're under pressure and pushing hard into the red. More than that, it changes your relationship with the bike. There's no cable, housing, wires, or anything to manage, and that opened up design and engineering possibilities with the new Eagle Axis shift controller. Helping us pioneer completely new shifting experience with new ergonomic touch points that take just enough effort to press. The touch points that are also totally customizable to your preferences, allowing you to choose which button does what through the Axis app right on your phone. So you can just go right into the app. If you prefer pressing one button or the other to shift up or down, you can totally customize it.
Wow. Now, what I like about this, what really, one of the many things that sets you apart from your competitors is the fact that you guys are wireless electronic shifting, which I think plays a big part in getting that IP69K water and dust proof rating, you know, and it's just, you know, it's amazing the technology, how the derailleur will disengage if it is struck by a rock to allow it to move, to give, so that it doesn't damage or destroy it. I mean, you guys are really thinking about so much on this. It's incredible. It's just amazing. You know what I'd like to do is, if we got a couple questions, it'd be fun to just kind of jump in right here while we're waiting for Ed to come back and maybe get a couple questions answered. But Dave Nadeau, there you are. But glad to have you back, Dave. We were, man, all enthralled, and then we lost you there, and it was like the end of season cliffhanger on my favorite TV show. But anyways, Dave Nadeau wants to know how are you guys weathering this huge bump in demand during COVID? I mean, do you guys have any products that are in short supply? How's the supply chain for you guys right now?
Well, I don't think Brian gets to see some of the reports that I get to see in terms of lead times. But you look at some of the lead time reports and you kind of cry. We introduced 2 new wheel sets in beginning of June, and we're offering them for sale right now. We're delivering November. So if you order the wheels today, you're going to get them in November. We've got a new ZEB RockShox fork that's a 38 millimeter stanchion, whole new design. Those are going to be coming to you in October if you order one today. The initial order that came into the US for all of our Indianapolis sales and all of our distributors in the US were gone in 3 days.
Jeez.
You know, I don't think that we as a company had anticipated the level of demand and the excitement that people had for getting new equipment. You know, thankfully, we don't just sell inner tubes or 26-inch wheels. We sell a higher end product that's a little bit more expensive. And
and we lost Ed again. So Brian, I got another question for Brian Stinson. He's a little curious about you know, the wireless technology. Is this Bluetooth? Are we using a like a near field wireless internet connection similar to like what GoPro uses, or what's the method for communication?
So it's actually it's a proprietary protocol that was developed, and that was pretty much because especially in some of the cases of our like road access components where, you know, you could potentially, you know, be in a peloton of riders or something, a lot of our tour riders.
And shift everybody's bike?
Yeah, you don't want it hackable so other teams can sabotage, you know, the other teams, because those groups are on like tons of those bikes. And so, yeah, so I actually have talked with some of the engineers as far as our compliance on that side for the software and the protocol for that. And we did have to basically engineer like a completely proprietary protocol. So it doesn't run under just normal like ANT Plus or Bluetooth or anything like that. It runs under its own connection. So, which is still cool that you can actually like, you can customize like your, you know, the button press for Eagle Access or even like the roadside. But yeah, you you won't be able to have another team's car driving alongside you and hack it and shift your bike around, or have one rider shift a bunch of other bikes worth of shifting and things like that. So.
Yeah. Wow. So that kind of speaking of shiftings and where the and how you shift. Dave Nadeau had another question. He hasn't seen these shifters in real life, and I haven't either. But are the actuators set up on the shifters so that you can either shift with your index finger, or maybe you can use your thumb on 2 other buttons, or what are the options, you know, with the shifter as far as button rating goes?
So there is a toggle up and down. If you hit the upper part, the derailleur moves to a harder gear. You hit the lower one, derailleur moves to an easier gear. There's all.
So in the case of the Eagle axis controller, what you see there with kind of the Eagle symbol, and kind of that you can see kind of where it kind of changes plane a little bit from the lighting in the shot. That's just one button. So you don't have 2 separate buttons. You actually just kind of, it's like a rocker. You can kind of like push into the top of the button, and then also your thumb could kind of rest and push towards the bottom of the button. So depending on like, so there's really only one button, but you can customize and say, okay, when I push the top part, it shifts, you know, into an easier cassette, and then vice versa. So that's where the customization comes into play, but it's all contained to kind of that one button, just to make it really smooth and have everything together. So either you don't have to mess with different fingers, or try to like figure out the optimal shifter position.
Sure.
Just kind of work. You can basically set it up how you want, and everything's just right.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Way more customizable than the old bar top thumb shifters from the early 90s, late 80s for sure.
A little bit.
Yeah, killer stuff. Let's keep going with the presentation, guys. I'm hungry for more information. This is great stuff.
We just have a couple more slides. I think I'm through that one. Let's talk about XX1 Eagle. This is the highest altitude of our expanded, deeper, and more capable Eagle ecosystem. XX1 Eagle is the group for top-tier race bikes and absolute dream builds, pro-level performance, and compatibility with all Eagle gear ranges. The Eagle XX1 drivetrain remains incredibly quiet, intuitive, and precise. Whether for a prized race machine or a personal dream build, the XG 1299 cassette serves both ends of the spectrum for everything in between, giving riders unprecedented 520% range thanks to the new 10 to 52 tooth span. Stronger racers are now free to choose larger chain rings for more top-end speed without sacrificing climbing range. The Eagle XX1 group is the lightest group in the Eagle ecosystem, with multiple Olympic, World Cup, and World Championship titles, and it matches perfectly to the XX1 Eagle axis-enabled componentry. The XG 1299 cassette utilizes the full depth of the new Eagle color system, available in black to gold to rainbow and the all-new copper. The new cassette completes the expression of the world's most accomplished and sought-after bikes. So we're occupying a new realm in shifting performance. It's the redesigned mechanical XX1 Eagle derailleur. No compromise racers and dream bike builders. It gives them a true top-tier option. Crisp, precise XX1 shifting. Athletes rely on now features an updated cage geometry for improved chain management. The XX1 Eagle derailleur makes full use of the new 10 to 52 cassettes, and the derailleur is backwards compatible to also work with the 10 to 50 cassette. So in order to adjust this new range properly, you don't have any confusion between using the old purple B-gap tool, the red B-gap tool. It all works with one tool now, and you can see that tool in white underneath the cassette on the slide there. So the new B-gap adjustment tool, simple and easy to use, allowing for quick setup experience. And it's small enough to be able to pack in your ride bag or stash in your toolbox for repeated use. And it can be recycled if you find you no longer have use for it. This is the most precise way for setting up and adjusting your Eagle rear derailleur.
So, and just kind of another question that might come up, as far as using last year's Eagle mechanical derailleur with the new 520% range, what's the answer on that, Ed?
You know, Brian, that's a really important question. We always strive to eliminate complexity, and we like building in backwards compatibility. But with the new 10 to 52 cassette, we can't confidently recommend that the shift performance is what you would expect from SRAM shifting.
Well, I'll help answer that question. Considering to optimize the shift experience and the shifting performance, we recommend that Eagle Axis and any of our new mechanical rear derailleurs that are purpose-built to use both the 1050 tooth cassette and the new 1052 tooth variant only. So basically, the derailleur will have it marked on the inside of the lower cage if it's 520% capable. So things like the pulley wheel offset, cage length, and body shape are all changed for the 52, even though any of the longer derailleurs set for the 52 can work with the 50, not the other way around with a V1 mechanical derailleur to a 52 tooth cassette. So that, again, the V1 Eagle derailleur, you'll encounter a more labored, less precise kind of shift experience that we really don't recommend using with the new expanded Eagle range cassette.
But you can use any one of our Axis rear derailleurs with the new cassette. So those are backwards and forwards compatible. So black, gold, rainbow, and the new copper. You can see all of those colors in our graphic here. The freedom to mix, the freedom to match. And all Eagle is fully compatible with the 50 tooth cassette, and all Eagle Axis is fully compatible with the new 52 tooth cassette. So Josh, does that give you an idea of what we're doing as far as drivetrains go?
Well, man, no pun intended, but my gears are just absolutely turning. It is so cool, and I can remember, even turn of the century here in the year 2000, everybody's freaking out about their computers, and I'm sitting there going, how do they make bikes better? This is as good as it's ever going to get. I don't know how you push this technology further, and of course the folks at SRAM continue year after year to just refine and make our drivetrains more reliable, better, and the information you presented to us shows us that SRAM Eagle is no exception to that. You guys have done some amazing stuff. You've done your homework, and it's incredible. And we really glad to have you guys on board. And I'm excited. I'm excited to check some of this stuff out. It's cool stuff. And I gotta go see what the bank account looks like, because I might need some new goodies for my bike. I think a lot of people
we've done a couple of interesting things with dealers. One, we did a dealer video where we took an old 1992 Trek 830 and installed a new Eagle group on it with new parts and new brakes and brake levers, and the retail price on that was less than $600. So all new drivetrain. That's pretty cool. The other thing.
So I have one question. I have one question for you. How steep of a climb can you climb with that 52 tooth cog on the back on a 26-inch wheel? That's got to let you climb walls.
Yeah, it's a very low gear that does give you a great climbing ability. But you can also take that high-end titanium hardtail that somebody got built up that had 9-speed top-of-the-line product on it, and now you can install a new Eagle XX1 group and an NX cassette. You can take 2 pounds plus off the bike and give them a modern drivetrain. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty cool equation there.
Yeah, that's really breathing new life into some of the old technology. And I always tell people, if you want to get a one bike and you never get a bike again, get a custom titanium bike built. And thanks to you guys, that's going to allow these people to ride their bikes longer, and stay on top of technology and nothing becoming obsolete where they got to park their bike or hang it on the wall because you just can't get those replacement parts anymore. So you guys really have thought a lot. You guys are doing your homework. You're doing good things. Not only for we the riders, but of course that sounds like you're doing great for all your employees and your companies that are part of the SRAM family. And it's good to know that when we go and spend our money, on SRAM bicycle components, that it's good. It's American. It's family. It's good stewardship, and it's a fantastic product. It's really a win-win-win.
Now, here is a really interesting question. A guy has a 2017 XX1 rear derailleur and an 11-speed cassette. So one thing for sure about that bike. He's got an XD driver body on that bike. If he wants to upgrade to a 12-speed cassette and derailleur, he can do a couple of really easy-to-do things. If he wants the new crank design, he's going to have to get a new chain. He's going to have to get a new cassette. But he could buy one of our Eagle Axis upgrade kits for $1,000, and he's got electronic shifting on that bike with an Eagle cassette and an Eagle chain. And that's all you have to get.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, guys, we are getting close to the end here, and we've got another one of those X01 12-speed chains to give away, courtesy of SRAM and you guys. But before we get there, I want to touch on. I've got a couple stories and some questions that I want to get to. Brian, you're in product development, and I'm sure. Anybody you talk to, and I'm sure you've gotten this before, being in product development. Hi, Shannon, I see you. You hear the guy like, bro, I'd love to get a job doing that where I get free latest cutting edge technology stuff and all I got to do is ride my bike. But there's a little more to it, product development, than just getting out there and riding the latest stuff and seeing if it breaks or not, isn't there? Can you kind of give us a little insight on some of the finer points and details to doing a quality job of product development?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, in this kind of industry, you definitely do ride your bike a lot, but as far as actually the design and development of the product, there's tons of engineering that goes into it, and that's definitely the bulk of it. But again, so I work for SRAM's global test team, and we're responsible for the development, execution, analysis of like product performance data for all of our different components. We have various test sites actually globally, so not just in the US. We have test sites like Ed kind of touched on in Schweinfurt, and other kind of global test sites. And we have like hundreds of tests that span across all the different component groups. And to reiterate, I work at the Indianapolis facility for wheels.
Yeah.
So I'm our mountain bike and road kind of wheel test engineer. But as far as the locations we do testing in for the US domestic sites, starting from the West Coast, we have a test lab in San Luis Obispo, California. They focus on bottom brackets, cranks, and some kind of road drivetrain components. Moving a little bit further from there, it'd be Colorado Springs would be the next one east, I think, if I get all my US states and everything correct. But that's our RockShox site. So again, like Ed kind of said, we're like, we grow through acquisition, but we don't really move kind of that base company around. RockShox, still in Colorado Springs. And they focus obviously on front and rear suspension and suspension seat posts. Going a little bit more, we've got Spearfish in South Dakota, which is where Cork is at. They actually do all their electronic testing at their own site right there in Spearfish. Moving further to the east, you hit Chicago, our headquarters right there in Chicago. All the road drivetrain components, the electronic components. They have a nifty, really cool test lab right there in town in Chicago. Teeny bit more, we've got Indianapolis in the heart of Indiana. And again, that's where I work. So we primarily focus just on wheels. We also support some hub testing and some other components there, but our main focus is wheel testing, system testing. And now going overseas, keep going over, we actually hit Coimbra in Portugal. They actually do all of our engineering and development on chains. And they also help support some of the hub testing that is primarily developed actually in our Schweinfurt site in Germany. And Schweinfurt also takes care of our mountain bike drivetrains And again, they handle all the hub stuff. And then when you go all the way out to Taiwan, in kind of the manufacturing mecca that is Taichung, we have 2 test labs there in Shenkong, and another we've dubbed our Asia Development Center. And in those, we pretty much test all of our components since we make a lot of our parts there in Taichung. They have the capability to test all of our different components, even wheels there. And then they also are the sole site to test kind of our accessory components, such as like stems, bars, static seat posts, things like that. So.
Okay. Wow. Cool stuff. So, Brian, I had one more question for you. You being a Flagstaff to Grand Canyon veteran, give us one of your best memories of the Flagstaff to Grand Canyon ride for you.
Probably my first ride. So it was almost 7 years ago was the first time I did it. I'd actually moved out to Phoenix from South Bend, Indiana, so northern Indiana, right? So I moved out to Phoenix for my first job and everything. I was out there for a couple of years. I kind of mountain bike, thought I kind of knew how to ride a bike, whatever. And then as soon as you work for a bike industry, you realize there's a lot of room to grow, right? But
yeah.
First moved out, I had some coworkers that had done it like a year or so before. So I was like, oh, it seems really cool. So get up into Flagstaff, the camping, everything was like super cool and everything. Start the ride, super pumped. I'm kind of playing around, like hitting all the puddles. It was really muddy. It was the old route that was 72 miles or 75 miles when it was like way longer than 65.
Mm-hmm.
That's where then the next year they made the shirts where it was like, oh, it's 65 miles or so. Like started joking on that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I was in a small group and kind of separated from them and got ahead and started like major cramping. Was miserable, absolutely miserable, right? Like just suffer bust all the way for about 4 hours with like leg cramps and stuff to the end. But the main thing, like, and you wonder like, why would I go back and do it like 5 more times after that? But it's just being able to ride through like the environment, the scenery, and the culture of everything. Like you get to start up in the pines and Flagstaff. You descend down the desert plains. It's like wide open. You can see for like 25, 30 miles just way out there, right? And you kind of start to ascend back up into the pines. You know you're getting close. You're getting really antsy because you've got that awesome raffle and the fajita dinner and everything, and just the chill, the beer sponsors and everything. And just like it, I feel like it's a really good event for just like, it's so inviting for a lot of entry level kind of riders to experience kind of the mountain bike culture where it's not really intimidating. So it's not like you have to go to a trail and you're being intimidated by other riders, or it's like a really huge event like something like Sea Otter or Crankworks and you just have the level. You still, I mean, a lot of the guys I ride with are ex-pro racers. They podium MBAA events all the time. Some like ex-pro guys. And but still, it's just like they just embrace that culture, and everyone just, that vibe you just get where it's just super inviting. Everyone's cool, helpful. They just want you to ride. Either you're doing the ride, whether you're doing it for like just survival or for fun or to actually race, whatever. Like it's just all inclusive to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just
it really is doing what we love for a good cause, and you really summed that up well, Brian. There's one more story I want to get, and that is from Ed. Ed, you know, our last Power Up event was with Ned Overend. We got to kind of check out some of the cool SRAM stuff. He's been a SRAM guy for a very long time, and you had an interesting experience with Ned back in the day at a place called Disneyland. I don't know if anybody else has spent a day at Disneyland with Ned Overend. So I have kind of 2 questions, and you can choose to answer them or go off in a different direction. But number 1. That was back when the bobsleds on the Matterhorn, you basically sat in the person's lap behind you. So did Ned sit in your lap, or did you sit in his lap?
Ned Overend was in the front, and I was right behind him. He's a little guy. He is really a little guy. I had an amazing experience. I was out at Interbike and I think this was 92 or 93, working for a company out there, and they had given me a person to babysit for the whole weekend. He was a new frame manufacturer coming into the business, and I was just supposed to tag along and take him to all the different frame booths and give him a chance to see what our industry was like. And one of the things that we got with the entrance to Interbike was a free trip to Disneyland. They took us in buses over there. We went to the park, and we went in groups. And so we took a car, and Ned hitched a ride with us. And so we went over, and we basically spent the next 4 hours at Disneyland together talking about different stuff. He'd had an experience with one of his initial sponsors, and I knew the initial sponsor, and we talked about that quite a bit. And he talked about being really excited about the race season coming up and how he was maturing into the whole racing scene. He was becoming a manager of the team. I don't know if he talked about it at all, but he was actually a team manager when some very interesting riders rode for Specialized. And he had to handle people that were really challenging. So yeah, he was in the front on the bobs, and I have never been to Disneyland since then. It was my only experience there. And I don't know if we're ever going to go to another Interbike. So.
Yeah, that's a good question. I can just picture you and Ned sitting there in the boats on It's a Small World, humming along, kind of just not really making eye contact, just kind of going through there. And then, you know, after that, it's off to get a churro and a Dole Whip over by the, you know, or you guys are in the tiki room jamming with all the birds, clapping their beaks and everything. It's just, my imagination has run wild of you and Ned at Disneyland. So guys, we're pushing 2 minutes over our finish time, but I wanted to thank Ed and Brian from SRAM for all their support, and they've got some killer stuff that they brought in. Looks like, let me see if I can do my math right. It looks like close to $3,000 worth of product that they've donated for our big raffle. We've got a boxer fork, we've got a SID fork, and we've got a dropper seat post, the Reverb Stealth, that we're going to be giving away at their big raffle at our final event. But right now, I see Shannon has got the magic bucket, and we are going to pull a name to see who's taking home that overnight stay at the Flagstaff Nordic Center, plus a brand new SRAM X01 chain for their bicycle. So let's see it. Who's it going to be? Take it away.
Well, before I say who it's going to be, I wanted to make sure everybody knows that we have another event like this next week with Anna Sparks and Taylor Ledeen, where they're going to talk about what it takes to thrive on long distance rides. And the winner is Larry Bernstein.
Woohoo! All right, Larry.
All right.
There he goes. Romantic night up at the Nordic Center. Brand new chain on the bike to ride the epic single track up there. That is going to be pretty cool. Yeah, that's right, Janet. We've got Sparks and Taylor Ledeen, man. They are experts in the endurance game, and they're going to have some great information and some incredible stories to share. I know that Taylor spent at least, vacations once a year at the 24-hour World Solo Championships. And I'm going to be curious to pick his brain on some of that. And he's a great guy, Pivot Rider, one of our great sponsors, and Anna Sparks is really great as well. So it's going to be exciting. I encourage you guys to make sure you are there. So once again, Brian and Ed, thank you guys so much. We can't thank you enough. It is getting close to that time where we all got to go have dinner, and I want to take my kids mountain biking here before it gets dark. So, guys, thank you guys so much for all of your support. Don't forget to buy those raffle tickets, $20 and $50 tickets. The more you buy, the more we raise for the Marine League Charities and the more chances that you have to win. So, guys, that's going to do it for us. It's Saturday night. It's time to go have some fun, and we will see you next weekend.